आपको लगता है कि ये कहीं ना कहीं अब एक चैलेंज है स्टोरी टेलिंग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी कि आप कितना दिखाओगे कैरेक्टर्स को फोन भी यूज करते हुए?
नहीं, चैलेंज तो है ही, which is why like just make the phone the screen. The storytelling place is actually that you're not seeing the character, you're actually seeing exactly what they're doing. There's something very, it's like यार मैं तेरे कंधे पे बैठ के तेरा कंप्यूटर स्क्रीन देख रहा हूँ.
आपने दिखाया कि वो तन्मय और रोहन जोशी वगैरह दे आर स्ट्रीमिंग एंड ऑफ कोर्स दैट्स वेरी रियलिस्टिक एंड वेरी गुड टच. हाउ डू यू सी इन जनरल दिस काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रीमिंग कल्चर?
I want to go and watch 10 minutes per day of this person's life who is traveling from Bombay to Delhi, then going and meeting their mother in Chandigarh, and then going over there and traveling over there. That is my soap opera. I want to watch it. I will watch my
Yeah.
soap opera. The last series I can say that really moved me off late has been The Bear. It spoke so deeply to me at the level of being a creator, which is exactly what Karmi is in that show. He's trying to find that fine line between letting your creation and letting your creator instincts kind of like overwhelm you versus just being a good human being.
लाइक जस्ट वांट टू नो सबसे पहले तो कि मतलब कहाँ से आपके अंदर आइडिया आया इस तरीके से एक लाइक दिस डिजिटल काइंड ऑफ फिल्म दैट इज कंप्लीटली सेट इनसाइड स्क्रीन्स. एंड ऑफ कोर्स यू आर समबडी हु हैज ऑलवेज ट्राई टू एक्सपेरिमेंट विद द मीडियम एंड आपकी हर फिल्म अपनी दूसरी फिल्म से अलग होती है. वाज दिस कमिंग फ्रॉम प्लेस ऑफ रियली ट्राइंग समथिंग डिफरेंट और वाज देयर सम अदर मोटिवेशन दैट compelled you to do this?
In the middle of the pandemic, I got a call from a friend of mine who's also a producer who said that Timur Bekmambetov, who's actually the producer of Searching and Missing and Unfriended and all these like screen life films, that they actually want to do screen life films in India. And I said, "हाँ ठीक है, करते हैं, बात करते हैं." So I spoke to him, and then as a lark, Avi and me, and because of the pandemic, we had so much time, we started like playing around with ideas, and this idea really stuck for both of us to be able to say, okay, what if you did this sort of like screen life modern day, but you get a chance to really sort of like dig very deep into influencer culture, into AI, into what social media means, into what like love stories are, into what revenge is, and there's so many of these interesting kind of like things that really were like working for us and like coming in waves that we were like, okay, let's just like go deeper and sort of like do something. So that became very exciting. So like then we were fully, and I am a big fan of this format of storytelling. Like I love searching. I love searching. I love Unfriended. I think it's such an underrated format of filmmaking, because we spend, as we're doing right now, we spend so much time of our day on computer screens or on our device screens. We are making video calls. We're doing Google searches. We're watching YouTube videos. We're watching things. We're working on, so there's so much that we do on this that we tend to sort of like forget that it's almost second nature to us to be able to watch to sort of like do that. Now that was a very underserved kind of thing. So it was a fun challenge, yeah, to be able to sort of like say, okay, can you be able to tell an immersive, interesting thriller story in this format? So that's what kind of set ourselves up for.
पर ये बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बात है जो द थिंग दैट यू जस्ट सेड कि इतनी सारी फिल्में आज के टाइम में बनाई जाती हैं पर शायद इट्स नॉट अप्रोप्रिएटली एबल टू कैप्चर जस्ट हाउ मच वी आर ऑन आवर फोन, राइट? क्योंकि आप कैरेक्टर्स को कितना ही दिखाओगे फोन यूज करते हुए. लेकिन सच बात तो ये है कि हम लोग तो अपने 24 घंटों में से 12 घंटे, मतलब जब मेरा तो काम सोशल मीडिया वाला है, सबको पता ही है, तो मतलब मेरे तो शायद 10-12 घंटे भी निकल जाते होंगे सोशल मीडिया पे, पता नहीं चलता होगा. तो आपको लगता है कि ये कहीं ना कहीं अब एक चैलेंज है स्टोरी टेलिंग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी कि आप कितना दिखाओगे कैरेक्टर्स को फोन भी यूज करते हुए?
No, challenge to hai, which is why like just make the phone the screen. Which is why the screen, the storytelling place is actually that you're not seeing the character, you're actually seeing exactly what they're doing. There's something very, it's like यार मैं तेरे कंधे पे बैठ के तेरा कंप्यूटर स्क्रीन देख रहा हूँ. उसमें
करेक्ट.
उसमें उसमें भी मजा है ना, तू कर क्या रहा है, किससे बात कर रहा है, क्या देख रहा है, क्या क्या गूगल सर्च कर रहा है, all that kind of stuff is something very very voyeuristic. Yeah, I think there's something very nice about that storytelling format, to be able to tell a story in that. And the thing is, once you get in, it's very immersive. It's an extremely immersive format because you are really, and it's up to, the fun here is that how you can take people along for the ride, where to go close up, where to go wide shots, almost like
हम्म.
पिक्चर शूट कर दिया, उसके बाद शॉट ब्रेक डाउन कर रहे हैं हम लोग कि कहाँ क्लोज जाना है, कहाँ कहाँ दूर जाना है, ऑल दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ स्टफ.
हाँ हाँ, मतलब इसमें शॉर्ट कॉम्पोजिशन आप जो ट्रेडिशनल तरीके से करते हो वैसे तो करना पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. तो आप कैसे करे थे फिर भी? मतलब हाउ वर यू कंपोजिंग योर शॉट्स? हाउ वर यू, वाज देयर अ स्टोरी बोर्डिंग प्रोसेस सिमिलर टू हाउ यू डू इट इन अदर फिल्म्स?
No, so I'll tell you how. So how we did this was, so the film is essentially, it's Ananya who's playing Nala, and she's a lot of her interaction is happening with an AI character,
करेक्ट.
and that AI character. is in an app called Control. So we know that, okay, aage jaake we'll have to end up creating this app. So what we're doing is we're doing mock-ups of what the app will look like, how will it work, how will it introduce itself, how will, those things kind of happen. So there's that one part is, okay, the design process of all that kind of stuff happening as mock-ups to be able to say, okay, we'll use this later. For the shoot, what I wanted to make sure that we were doing is, so assuming that, say, your master of what do you call your master is your computer screen is your master. Now within this master, we will screen record this master. Into this, तेरा जो कैमरा का footage है वो high res तू shoot कर रहा है, which is, so the camera, there's an iPhone hooked up to your laptop screen which is recording you at 4K, recording me at 4K, recording you at 4K.
Right.
The AI character is talking into a motion capture camera. That motion capture feed is going into Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is converting that into the AI character that we've already created in the past. That is coming into the computer like a Zoom call where I'm now talking to an AI character. So through the entire film, she's talking to an actual AI character on screen.
Understood.
Every FaceTime call is being recorded. Every FaceTime call is being shot on high res as well for every character that we are. Every interaction that she's doing, whether it's a Google search or whether anything else, is live on the screen. We're recording the screen. So what happens that you now have the screen as your master. You take that on the editing table. And you also have high res footage of me, of you, of the AI, of every single call, of every single interface. And that's how we start then putting the film together after that to say, here's where we go closer, here's where we go wider, here's where we move in, here's where we move out. Here's where we want to end up telling the story. Here's how we sort of like show the interaction of what a YouTube page looks like, the clicks, the mouse moving, the mouse there. Like, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of taking you in and into this world and sort of like now leaving you in that world to be able to sort of, have fun with it. So, but everything we do afterwards has to be created. We have to, once I've done the short breakdowns, then that goes to VFX. Then VFX goes and recreates all of that with high res footage after designing the app, after designing those pages. So, काफी.
So it's a process, but just a very different kind of process from what you do otherwise.
Yeah.
मुझे और काफी इंटरेस्टिंग लगा कि आपने ट्रेलर में भी दिखाया, तो ऑब्वियसली फिल्म के अंदर भी वो काफी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट होगा, पर आपने दिखाया कि वो तन्मय और रोहन जोशी वगैरह दे आर स्ट्रीमिंग एंड ऑफ कोर्स लाइक दैट्स अ वेरी वेरी रियल थिंग. मतलब हम शायद चाहे स्कूल के बच्चों से लेके आप लोगों की जनरेशन के लोग, सब लोग ही हैं जो कि रात को बैठे हुए हैं तो तन्मय की वीडियोस देख लिया, फिर कुछ भी देख लिया. सो आई थॉट दैट ऑफ कोर्स दैट्स वेरी रियलिस्टिक एंड very good touch. How do you see, just not just talking about Tanmay's streams right now, but in general, this kind of streaming culture, do you see personally any merit in that format of content creation? Do you see any artistic value to it? What is your personal take on it?
If we say, and if I use the example of saying that the streaming world has given us more diversity than what we end up seeing on the theater screens, for better or for worse. What the streaming culture of influencers does, or vlogs, or podcasts, or that kind of stuff, is multiply that by 1,000. Yeah. Because you now have sort of micro cultures or micro things building up where you can go and watch. I want to go and watch 10 minutes per day of this person's life who is traveling from Bombay to Delhi, then going and meeting their mother in Chandigarh, and then going over there and traveling over there. That is my soap opera. I want to watch it. I will watch my soap opera. So it's further taken that. So you like to watch, if you like to watch Tanmay's videos with Rohan and the entire bunch of gangs, by all means, that's your thing. You can watch that. You can watch multiple other things. You can watch Humans of Cinema as a thing that you end up doing. If you had a, I'm guessing you have a YouTube channel as well, which you have a lot of the videos coming in. That's like, it's the on demand to really cater to exactly what you want to watch has become so easy nowadays, and that's exactly what influencer culture is servicing.
आपको लगता है कि मतलब एक कॉन्वर्सेशन यहाँ पे ओपन हो रही है और हो सकती है अबाउट फॉर एग्जांपल द व्लॉग्स, राइट? स्पेशली मतलब एक तरीके से like a certain group of people might argue that what Kirostami was doing back in his time was a type of vlog. That there are people, the big vloggers who are essentially just telling stories through their vlogs of their everyday lives. And then there is a film like About Love by Arjuna Phadke, where she is also kind of capturing the things that are happening inside her house. but that's a film, while those are blogs. How do we make that differentiation in today's time? What do you feel about
I
that?
mean, honestly, Archana's film could have very easily been a vlog as well, and I would have watched it very happily. Also, like to do. I think it's a question of that the format you end up choosing to be able to sort of like tell that, and how much artistic merit is there in your own telling of it. Not everyone is not everyone's as much of an artist as Archana is, and that's what makes her film so special and unique compared to anything else. But I think the fact that the technology allows you in a certain sort of way to be able to really kind of like take your cameras and go and be voyeuristic within your own family, where those things are actually kind of like interesting enough to be able to sort of like do. I think if you go back to the great films of the past or whatever, it's like it's more that sort of stuff never happened. No, matlab it was like apna Kieslowski ka kaun sa hai? Camera Buff hai, or there's
Yeah.
like Peeping Tom. Some of these films which talk about that sense of that voyeurism of like using a
Man with
camera
the
all the
camera.
time. Man of the camera, to use that camera all the time.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing, you know,
Basically, yeah.
today. So yeah, so there is it's in both. There's the artistic version, which is the Archana version. There's the every other version, which is the non-Archana version.
करेक्ट करेक्ट. अच्छा, अभी आजकल विक्रम, यू नो हम देख रहे हैं कि कितनी सारी पुरानी फिल्में री रिलीज हो रही हैं, ऑलमोस्ट टू द पॉइंट वेयर इट्स प्रॉब्ली बिकम अ गिमिक आल्सो इन टर्म्स ऑफ लाइक अ कमर्शियल गिमिक. बट ऑल ऑफ दैट बीइंग सेड, आर देयर एनी प्लान्स ऑफ यू री रिलीजिंग उड़ान, भावेश जोशी, लुटेरा? बाय द वे, आई जस्ट वांट टू शो यू,
हाँ,
मतलब फ्रॉम माय कलेक्शन.
अरे वाह, क्या बात है.
ये मेरे को हर्षवर्धन कपूर ने गिफ्ट की थी अपने कलेक्शन में से. इसमें तो आपके साइन भी हैं ऑलरेडी.
अरे
इस
वाह.
इस पे मैंने करवाने हैं. ये मैं
आ जाओ.
आपसे जब मिलूंगा
अगली
तो.
बार अगली बार मिल लो,
मैंने
करवा
अभी
देंगे.
रिसेंटली दिल्ली में एक वो है, देयर इज अ डीवीडी स्टोर व्हिच स्टिल हैज लाइक एन अमेजिंग कलेक्शन ऑफ डीवीडीज. वहां से आई गॉट इट.
हाँ, नाइस.
बट हाँ, मतलब आपके हैं कोई प्लान्स री रिलीज करने के?
I don't know. There's some conversations happening which are very very early about Udan and stuff. देखते हैं. I think. I mean, yeah, it may be a gimmick, but if the movies are making money in the theater, then why not? Now, then everybody's kind of happy, yeah. So I think
करेक्ट.
it's a thing. Like I'm so happy for Tumbad, yeah. For a film that didn't get its due back then, to be able to come now and actually genuinely make money out of the film is fantastic, yeah. I mean, it makes it makes everybody happy. So, but India being India, पता नहीं ये trend हो जाए and then they'll ruin it.
हो ही गया वो थोड़ा सा ट्रेंड तो देखो इस पॉइंट पे, क्योंकि आई मीन सम फिल्म्स हैव बीन री रिलीज्ड लाइक 2-3 times विद इन द लास्ट 1 year, तो the whole purpose
Yeah,
of it has kind of been lost. but ठीक है, मतलब as long as some films are like Laila Majnu and Tumbad, of course, are the biggest examples.
yeah. No, but good for them. Na, Laila Majnu doing the kind of business it did is fantastic. Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
same with Tubar, which is a good sign also, that shows the fact that there is an audience out there to actually sort of like go and watch genre. For me, it's always looking back and sort of saying that you can a good horror film, for example, and maybe it's the post Munja effect or the post 3 effect or whatever it is. Case suddenly people have woken up a little bit to elevated horror, but if then so be it. Yeah, it's good. It's a good
Hmm.
sign.
नहीं, वही चीज है ना कि जैसे फॉर भावेश जोशी वुड हैव सीन द जस्ट द sheer number of reels that get made on Bhavesh Joshi, right? The edits. There, I don't know if you know, but there is a page called Bhavesh Joshi Feels, which is
Yeah.
completely dedicated to Bhavesh Joshi. So, I mean, Bhavesh Joshi, Tumbad, these are films that have really gained a very strong cult audience on social media, on Instagram, YouTube, and those are the people that are kind of going to the theaters now. And so, again, like as somebody with Bhavesh Joshi, you have seen this firsthand. To an extent with Lutera as well. How do you feel about that? I mean, in terms of when a film does not do well, when it was playing in the theaters, but with time, the kind of audience that you get with it. Um, अब आपकी क्या फीलिंग है उसके बारे में?
No, I'm always happy for when people watch your film anyway. And for me, I don't think, yes, it's great if they watch it in the theaters when their film came out, it would have been great. But the fact that they just watch it, and I feel that um, is it means a lot. It means a lot that people have gone on, and I'm always get happiest when people come and tell me this of Bhavesh Joshi. Actually, more than Lutera, more than Udan, it's like it delights me when people come and say that, "Sir, Bhavesh dekhi, my favorite film of yours," and I'm like, yes, somebody gets it. Somebody understands it. Um, so as long as they watch the film, quite honestly, yes. I mean, I think in a moment in time, yeah, Bhavesh had done well, it would have been nice. But the fact that it's getting an audience even afterwards, I think is for me is success enough. यार मतलब वो है. अभी देखते हैं अभी अगर आएगी थिएटर में. I know like I'm कौन प्रियांशु एक प्रियांशु है जो मैसेज करते रहता है कि करते हैं. That's it, हाँ.
I think Bhavesh especially is one film that 100% is has a great chance of doing really really well, and people really want to watch that film. मतलब उस टाइम पता नहीं चला था किसी को जब वो फिल्म आई थी.
No, it's also. I mean, it's made for a theatrical experience. Yeah, it's like so
Absolutely,
much work
yes.
we put into the visuals of it and mounting it on that scale and all those action sequences and stuff that I think that करते हैं बात करते हैं. I'm also like partly not lazy, but मैं also like यार किससे बात करूं मतलब स्टूडियो.
Too many stakeholders.
हाँ, well, that's what happens ना. I mean, so many
Yeah.
stakeholders in studios and in those studios people have all. Then you suddenly realize that shit I've been around for so long. हो गए 15 साल इंडस्ट्री में. Because even Udan ka, we're like thinking, na UTV ka film tha. UTV then became Disney. Disney, then you're like, who owns this film?
Right, right, right. Acha, Vikram, what was the last film that like really moved you?
Yeah, it's funny enough, one has been watching so many of the Film Heritage Foundation. I've realized that I've actually been watching more of the classics than I've actually sort of been watching. That's I saw Sholay all over again. I saw Padosan all over again. I saw so many of these films in the theater all over again.
Correct.
So I'm trying to think of like the 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 la- the last series I can say that really moved
Hmm.
me off late has been The Bear. Like the third season of The Bear. Like I loved it. Yeah, it spoke so deeply to me at
Hmm.
the level of being a creator, which is exactly what Karmi is in that show. Like he's someone
Right.
who's uh, who's trying to find that fine line between letting your creation and letting your creator instincts kind of like overwhelm you versus just being a good human being. And I think that there's so much that spoke to me about that it
Uh,
really really moved me. I can't think of like any in that sense like any movies I've seen recently that have the वैसे तो याद नहीं है मतलब मजे तो आए थे. Like I enjoyed Challenges a lot. I enjoyed like that
right.
kind of. I enjoyed the new Alien a lot.
You
Um,
did?
yeah. Well, I liked it a lot. मजा आया मुझे.
नहीं, या इट वाज गुड, इट्स गुड. बट बेयर के बारे में आपने चीज बोली, मतलब थोड़ा सा अगर हम पर्सनल जा सके कि मतलब इज दैट समथिंग दैट यू कैन स्ट्रगल विद इन टर्म्स ऑफ द थिंग दैट यू जस्ट स्पोक अबाउट?
You always do, yeah. You always struggle with it. You always struggle with it because it's always look, it's not an individual effort. If I was an artist, for example, doing my own thing, then who I am as a person doesn't really matter to anybody else. But when you work in a movie, you're working in a set of 100 people, 150 people. And I think we've come to an age where it is very, very important for you as a creator to also be human at the same time and to treat your crew with dignity, to treat them with respect, to sort of like do that. And then there's so many filmmakers I know, and there's always been an excuse that, oh, the art, that for anything for the art, and you're going to push your crew to the limits for that kind of stuff, and so on and so forth. And I've also been sort of like, coming to question that in a day, like, how much is really worth it when it comes to the art? If you can inspire people to do and to challenge themselves and do the work, then why do you need to shout at them? Why do you need to be why do you need to be an asshole? I'm saying there's I think there's just that finding that balance, because sometimes it happens, you don't realize it. You're like in the middle of something and the time is going and the sun is setting and you haven't got the light and someone is walking slowly down the entire thing. So because you have the power to, as a director, shout at somebody and no one's going to say anything back to you, you do it until. And then it's like, and everybody feels okay, it's justified in the moment because yeah, काम करना है और मतलब सूरज डूब रहा है और shot तो चाहिए ही चाहिए, and you get that. But then again, is that the only way to do something? Is that and how? Or then if you do it, what is your redressal system after that to be able to go and saying, "Bhai, I'm sorry, I apologize." So I've become a bit conscious of that,
Right.
and so that's why Bear sort of like spoke to me at a much deeper level, because it suddenly made me very aware of
Hmm.
what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong, and how can I look at myself to be able to say like, okay, there's a certain things that one should do, one shouldn't do. So I'm not an angry director on set at all, but there are moments when
Right.
things happen. So
Of course.
yeah.
And I mean, it's very interesting. But now that you mention it, there are actually a lot of similarities between running a kitchen and probably running a film set, right? Just the kind of high stress environment that you are in.
It is, and I think Christopher Storer is very aware of it when he's making that show. When he's almost
Right.
like talking about there's filmmaking where you're creating in that sort of sense the amount of delicacy that goes into creating something and creating something, and Carmi has to be able to throw things away because they're not perfect, and we do it all the time. There's a sense of like I frustrate some of my people because if I'm not happy with something on the editing thing, I will go back and look at it and re-edit and re-edit. And I tell my sound person like, "तू कितना edit भेजेगा मेरे को यार मेरे को तो काम तो करने दे उसके ऊपर." And I'm like, no man, you want if something is irritating you, you want to get it right, you want to get it perfect. And maybe you're overthinking it. Maybe at some point in time someone is coming to tell you, boss, it's okay, it's fine, let it be, let it live, let it breathe. But
Mm,
who's telling you that? No, I'm saying कौन बोल रहा है तेरे को? And so eventually you have to find the answer for yourself only. Yeah? So that's
mm,
again, it's finding that balance. It's just finding that balance. And maybe it's like you come to an age when you are more experienced, a little bit more. You're a father, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff that sort of tends to happen. Okay,
right.
what really are the important things in life after a point? Yeah, and I've found that at the end of the day, it's like for me the process I found is the most important part of filmmaking right now. Like I really enjoy and I want to enjoy and I want to be able to create, but really enjoy the process of writing, enjoy the process of editing, enjoy the process of shooting, enjoy the process of creating sound. I do enjoy them, but you want to enjoy them as a collective with everybody, where everybody's having a great time. You can go back and because yeah, काम करते हो, it becomes a family for at least a year and a half. Might as well make it a good experience.
Mm, yeah, yeah. For this film, did you work with a smaller crew than usual?
Yeah, it was a much smaller crew than usual. We didn't have that many people. It was a mostly shooting inside, smaller locations, smaller apartments, that kind of stuff. So we still had the normal, matlab catering to khana hai sabko, hair, makeup for the characters and that kind
Right.
of stuff is there. But you don't have that many lighting people, you don't have that many camera people. Grips to hai nahi, costume
Mm,
people are much lesser. AD team is much smaller. You don't need runners to be able to go and do sort of multiple things. So it is a much more limited crew that you kind of work with. It's not that dream limited crew जो होता है. I think every director has a dream कि यार एक दिन मैं 4 लोग के साथ पिक्चर बनाऊंगा. That never happened.
राइट 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 फिल्म थ्योरी में हम लोग एक चीज के बारे में पढ़ते हैं सिनेमा हिस्ट्री में टेक्नोफोबिया is something that's been often been spoken about in terms of from the oldest kind of sci-fi films where scientists used to be kind of the villains जिन्होंने monster को जन्म दे दिया और eventually आगे politicians बचा लेते थे. They used to be kind of the saviors of the day. Jabki in real life, of course, the people who are working in science, tech, and are constantly kind of striving for innovation, striving for human progress, while of course a lot of the problems come from politicians. So all of that is a part of the whole conversation around technophobia. Or kaise, even with shows like Black Mirror, that idea is kind of propagated again and again. Was that also something that you were conscious of, and how do you balance that whole, this whole dilemma in your head?
No, so to your point of politicians and scientists, I think between Metropolis and Oppenheimer, you can kind of like get the answer to both those things kind
Correct.
of like right there in terms of how little has actually sort of like changed or how much has actually sort of like changed in our
Mhm.
world in the last century that we've been at least whatever. Um, Look, so with any technology, I think it always comes down to who's in charge. And that's always the question. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's the atomic bomb or whether it's social media or whether it's AI. I think and the question becoming is who's in charge and what do they want to achieve with it. And I think that's the big question that's going to last right now. And I've found myself, to end up becoming fairly skeptical of the capitalist system in the sense of the fact that if profit is the answer to everything, then who's really questioning the people who are in charge at this point in time? Everybody has a stock market portfolio, but are you really like looking at who you're investing in? And then so when you're investing in a company that's not the best in terms of like whether any of whether they're environmentally sound or whether they're financially sound, that kind of stuff. But if you're making money off them, do you even question them? And I think that's what capitalism has ended up doing, or the stock market has ended up doing, is that it let you turn a blind eye to the things that happen,
Correct.
which should be questioned. I think at some point in time. So here again is like right now everybody's like, oh, AI and the fact that Nvidia is making all those chips, so their stock market goes, their stock price goes through the roof and so on. So, but like, well, dude, who's really in charge of AI?
Yeah.
Who who is who's setting the rules? Who's sort of like basically saying, yes, this is how the rollout should be able to happen? Who's judging generative AI? Who's understanding? Who's looking at where AI can be used and can't be used? Are we actually putting, labels for people to sort of like know what is AI content, what is not AI content? Because we know what can happen when it comes in the hands of the wrong people. Everybody knows this. I'm not even talking about Terminator level ke sentient AI and that kind of stuff.
Correct.
That's not that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact of like AI content on a general basis to influence people. We've seen it happen over multiple elections in multiple countries and that kind of stuff now. Why
Hmm.
why are we not questioning that? Who's going to be able to at this point in time sort of like lay down the rules for that? Who's going to be able to lay down the rules for our industry? I think right
Yeah.
now there's a lot that we haven't seen coming as yet. But when you see what Sora can do and what these kind of things, what a lot of generative AI
Yeah.
models can end up doing for you, it's a bit scary. Yeah, you're sort of basically sort of like talking about the fact that if you had to blanket sort of like doing, you're talking about many jobs in the industry just disappearing without a trace. And it's not.
Hmm.
There's a lot of good people I speak to who speak about like for them it's like, oh, it's not, it's about photography versus art. It's about digital versus film. And I'm like, no, it's not really the same. If you're talking about
Yeah.
multiple jobs potentially going at the same time across the production design world and the costume world, the art. I mean, there's so many things that can in that sort of sense happen if it's in the wrong, if it's used unjudiciously.
Yeah. Vikram, on an ending note, मैं देखता हूँ आप काफी बार अपनी स्टोरीज वगैरह में भी यू आल्सो कीप टॉकिंग अबाउट द प्लेज दैट यू हैव सीन. आपने रिसेंटली अभी एक प्ले के बारे में डाला हुआ था. आप कॉमेडी के बारे में बात करते हो. सो जस्ट बिसाइड्स फिल्म्स, व्हाट आर, मतलब चाहे बुक्स की बात हो, कॉमेडी की बात हो, आप मतलब कौन कौन सी ऐसी चीजें हैं जिसमें आपको सबसे ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट है, और आपकी उसमें से कुछ रिकमेंडेशंस हो अगर, लाइक स्टफ दैट यू हैव सीन रिसेंटली रेड.
So last 2 nights ago, I saw The Nether, which is Mohit Takalkar's new play, which is outstanding. I don't know when they're gonna get it back again, but that has been. I'm privileged enough to live close enough to Prithvi that I can actually sort of like go and see a bunch of plays. So The Nether was absolutely was really amazing. There's something which I mean I have to, and it sounds like I'm still saying it for my own people, but there is something. There's a small little thing called micro theater that happens in Warsaw, and it's run by a group of very young people who will come together and put together these 10 to 12 minute plays, for small audiences, and it's fantastic. And I know it because two of my assistants are actually sort of like doing plays over there, and every time I go there, I'm so surprised by how well written these plays are and how nicely they do it. So I mean, I like just call out micro theaters always. If anybody is in the Warsaw area in Bombay and you guys want to watch this that kind of stuff, that's always some great stuff to watch. Um, and again, with anything else, I mean, I wish I could read more.
Hmm.
I wish I could sort of like actually sort of like go and see more comedy stuff. Like I adore watching like Varun Grover on stage and Veer on stage and that kind of stuff. But I wish there was more I can do. Unfortunately, like whatever time is either spent like watching like either like series or working, or then like is watching football and then getting disappointed like last night with the Arsenal Man City match. So
Yeah, yeah.
it was a disaster. But
But chalo, Vikram, always a pleasure talking to you.
thank you.
And
Please watch the film. Let me know what you think about it.
yes, 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 we'll do, we'll do.
Enjoy. 4th October. Control.
Yes, guys, 4th October Control. Please watch the film. And this was Vikramaditya Motwane with me, Harshit Bansal at Humans of Cinema.